With the fear of interest rate rises constantly being bombarded by the media, I thought it would be a good idea to work out what my absolute ceiling would be before I started to really sweat. I've also made a template to help me figure out what that number would be, and you yourself, the viewer, can use it as well if it's something that you think would be valuable. I've left a link down in the description. Feel free to download it as we go through the video. I'll explain how it works. Times are tough at the moment. The cost of living is on the rise. Inflation is running rampant, and it really is impossible to forecast where mortgage interest rates are going to be over the next few years. The purpose of doing this exercise was to put my mind at ease by figuring out exactly how bad things would need to get before I would no longer be able to service my current debt of $1 million. To not drag out the outcome of today's video, the variable mortgage interest rate that I currently and theoretically could afford to pay up to is 14%. And I will also walk you through this very simple calculation so you can take some numbers, plug them into this template to get a better understanding of what your upper limit might be in the instance that interest rates do continue to rise higher and higher over the next few years. For me, if interest rates did hit that 14%, I would definitely be feeling a bit of pressure, and I would most likely start to explore options that I probably never would have contemplated. Currently, I do believe I'm in full control of my financial situation. However, the stories do come out. I am reading plenty, and there is a lot of fear mongering going on. So using a template like this to really get an idea of where you're sitting can be a good way to put your mind at ease. Okay, template time. Let's get straight into it. If you want to follow along with your own version, feel free to download a copy. I've made the link available down in the description below. Otherwise, just watch and see how it's put together. Firstly, we will need to establish a few parameters, and just note that here in the template, I have provided the ability to factor in a partner's contributions. I have also made it so you can factor in multiple mortgages, such as an investment property or a holiday house, as well as your own principal place of residence, which is known as a PPOR. To begin, all you will really need to think about are the values that will fit into the cells highlighted in yellow. That's all you will need to manually input. So starting on the left here, the parameters that you'll see feeding into the bigger equation include taxable salary, non-taxable salary, taxable rental income, rental tax deductions, tax owed on gross income, living expenses, and loan repayments for both an owner-occupier home as well as an investment loan. And as you can see, I have added the same fields for a second individual if you wanted to calculate this with a partner bringing in income of their own. Let's plug some numbers in to see how it works. Let's put a salary of $100,000 for person number one, 0 for non-taxable salary. Tax on that salary with no student debt comes out to be $24,967. Make sure you make it a negative number as that is coming off of your income. For person number two, I'm going to put a salary of $80,000, which will have them paying $18,067 in tax with no student debt as well. To work out the tax owed on your taxable salary, simply use the pay calculator and make sure all relevant checkboxes are toggled. If you are unsure what the pay calculator is, I have made a video explaining the ins and outs for your convenience, and in my opinion, it's a fantastic tool to get this info quickly and accurately. And the only other cell that needs to be changed in this section over here is the living expenses field. Note that you should not include any mortgage repayments in this section. That will come later. So once you have your living expenses, go ahead and put them into the template as a negative number as well, as it will be drawing from your total pool of money you have to work with each year based on your income. For this scenario, let's say the person's expenses is $35,000 a year. And just as an FYI, again, I have actually made a spreadsheet that helps me keep track of useful information such as my expenses, and I have made it available for download for free as well if it's something that you think would be useful to use. And again, I've also made a tutorial explaining the ins and outs of it, which I have linked down in the description below. With that being said, I have to do it. Now would be a good time to quickly hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really helps the channel grow. I really do appreciate the support, and it does not go unnoticed. Anyway, back to the template. From here is where we get a little bit more technical. We need to input some info into this section over here, which is going to spit out the remaining required information between your principal place of residence, investment properties income, if applicable, investment property deductions if applicable, and investment loan repayments. Starting with your owner-occupier home, which is also known as a PPOR or a principal place of residence. Depending on the type of loan, you will want to add the relevant amount owed. For the sake of this example, let's assume you currently only have a principal and interest variable loan. Let's say it's $700,000, and let's say your variable interest rate is currently sat at 4.5%. Below that interest rate, you'll need to input the original amount you borrowed. Let's say we purchased this house for $900,000 and the duration of the loan was set for 30 years. In Australia, it will usually be a 30-year loan. It might be different, set it accordingly. In some circumstances, people split their loans as well to fix a portion of the interest, and that's why I've made it available for someone to calculate it based on their current situation. Let's move on to the investment property section now. Basically, you're wanting to do the same as you have just done for the PPOR. In this instance, let's set the investment loan as interest only, fixed at 3%. Let's say you borrowed $450,000. The loan is just beginning and it's also a 30-year mortgage. Over in the right-hand section, you'll want to put any tax deductible expenses on a mortgage, such as insurances, council rates, the emergency services levy, water costs, repairs, maintenance, and any other costs that aren't specific. And these are the values I've set for the purpose of this example, but you will be able to get more accurate numbers from your actual bills. For rental income, I'm setting it to $500 per week. So I'm doing 500 times in brackets 365 divided by 7 to get an accurate number. The rental income comes out to $26,071.43 for the year. So now with all of your inputs being put in, we come back to the left-hand side and look at the very bottom cell. As we can see, this number here in bold represents how much you will approximately have left over when you have a mortgage or several at a set interest rate. From here, you can play around with the interest rates in those interest rate fields and how the loans are structured to see how quickly things could get sticky. Once that number is in the negatives, you are officially over leveraged. And as you can see for this example, once this couple's investment comes off interest only and both variable loans hit 7.2%, they would be officially living paycheck to paycheck. Finally, on the spreadsheet is the notes section at the very bottom. This just has some friendly reminders for anyone who uses this tool. Now, for those who are watching who have a very good understanding of how mortgage repayments work, you might be saying that this isn't going to be 100% accurate because it's very difficult to calculate the principal component on a variable loan. However, this is a pretty good representative tool to give you an idea and potentially sanity check what you could potentially be paying up to, or essentially what interest rate you could afford up to in the instance where times get tough. Hopefully, it can offer you a snapshot of what you might be expecting in the instance where interest rates rise very quickly. And obviously, as other factors change, things like your current living situation and potentially the introduction of new expenses, this will also affect the serviceability of that debt as well. I'd suggest updating the parameters in the template as things change within your life so that you still have a concept of what you would be able to afford up to as things in your life and your finances in particular change. Overall, after doing this, it looks like I'm not going to suddenly start defaulting on my debt and my mortgage. I have done the due diligence. I did the checks that were required to make sure that I didn't over leverage myself, to make sure that I didn't take on too large of a debt, which makes me very comfortable in my own living situation. And that, in a nutshell, is the outcome and the best possible outcome from today's video. I'm very glad that I did these checks in advance to make sure I didn't get caught out, especially in these uncertain times. And that is pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you find the tool useful. It was useful to me. I don't see why it wouldn't be useful to others. So hopefully you get some value out of it. With that being said, if you could hit that like and subscribe button, like I said earlier in the video, it really does help the channel. And I really do appreciate the support. And that is where I will leave you for today. Have a good day, have a good week. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.